Someone's switched your medicine, sir. Please don't take it.
The glass of water was already on the tray. The small white pill sat next to it, round and shiny under the kitchen light. In 1 second, Richard Colton, 59 years old, one of the richest men in New York, was going to swallow it. And 13-year-old Sam Dean was the only person in the room who knew it would kill him. "Wait!" Sam shouted, so loud his own voice scared him. Everyone froze. The billionaire's hand stopped in the air. The pill sat between his fingers, like nothing was wrong at all. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Sam's heart was banging so hard he could hear it in his ears. He had 10 seconds, maybe less, to explain why he had just yelled at one of the most powerful men in America. And if he got it wrong, his mother could lose her job that same night. 3 weeks earlier, Sam Dean did not know anything about medicine, or poison, or rich men's secrets. He only knew 2 things for sure. He loved chess, and he loved his mother, Denise Dean, more than anything in the world. Denise cleaned houses for a living. Not just any houses, big ones, the kind with elevators inside them and swimming pools on the roof. Her newest job was the biggest one yet. She cleaned for Richard Colton, the owner of Colton Foods, a company so large it made cereal, frozen pizza, and even baby food that sat on shelves in almost every store in the country. Colton lived in a glass tower in Manhattan, 42 floors up, where the clouds sometimes floated past the windows like slow gray ships. Denise worked there 5 days a week, and every day after school, since summer break had just started and there was no camp this year, Sam came with her. He wasn't supposed to touch anything. He wasn't supposed to talk unless someone talked to him first. He wasn't even supposed to look at the paintings too long, because his mother said rich people got funny about people staring at their things. So Sam sat in a small chair near the kitchen, with his chess app on an old phone his mum had bought second-hand, and he watched. Watching was the one thing nobody told him not to do, and Sam noticed everything. He noticed that the housekeeper who used to bring Mr. Colton his coffee every morning had quietly disappeared 2 weeks ago, replaced by a new woman who never smiled. He noticed that Mr. Colton's driver always parked the car in exactly the same spot, never 1 inch to the left or right. He noticed that the security guard downstairs, a big man named Franklin, always tapped the doorframe twice before he walked through it, like a little good luck habit nobody else seemed to see. But most of all, Sam noticed the new chef. His name was Peter Voss, 36 years old, tall, with pale skin and light brown hair that he combed the exact same way every single day, parted hard on the left side, like a ruler had drawn the line. He had been hired 4 weeks ago, right after the old chef, a kind woman named Ms. Alvarez, who used to slip Sam extra cookies, had suddenly quit without saying goodbye to anyone. Nobody explained why Ms. Alvarez left so fast. Sam's mother said maybe she got a better offer somewhere else. But Sam remembered that Ms. Alvarez had once told him she loved this job, that Mr. Colton was the best boss she ever had. People who loved their jobs didn't usually leave without even a goodbye. Peter Voss was polite. Too polite, maybe. He always said, "Good afternoon, young man," to Sam in a voice as smooth as glass, but his eyes never smiled along with his mouth. Sam had learned that from chess. You watch the eyes, not the mouth. Because the mouth can lie, but the eyes usually forget to. And there was one more thing Sam noticed, something so small that almost nobody else would have caught it. Mr. Colton took a pill every single morning at exactly 9 o'clock. A heart pill, Sam's mother had explained once, because the old man's heart wasn't as strong as it used to be. The pill came from a small orange plastic bottle that always sat in the same spot, on the same shelf, in the kitchen pantry, right next to the cinnamon and the vanilla extract. Sam had looked at that bottle 100 times without really seeing it, until one Tuesday morning, when he saw something different. It was a small thing, so small that anyone else would have walked right past it. The cap on the orange pill bottle was supposed to be white, with little ridges around the edge, the kind of cap that clicks when you twist it closed. A child-proof cap, Sam's mother had told him once, so nobody's baby swallows the wrong thing by accident. But that Tuesday morning, the cap was smooth. No ridges, no click, just a plain white cap that looked almost the same from far away, but not up close. Sam was sitting in his usual chair, playing chess against the computer, losing on purpose because he liked to see how the machine would punish his mistakes. He glanced up just as Peter Voss walked into the pantry, took the orange bottle down from the shelf, unscrewed the mismatched cap, and shook 2 white pills into his palm. Then Peter Voss did something strange. He didn't put the pills back in the bottle right away. He held them in his hand for a second, glanced toward the kitchen door, and then reached into his apron pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag. He swapped the pills, dropped the 2 from the bottle into the bag, and dropped 2 new pills from the bag into the bottle instead. It happened fast. Maybe 4 seconds, total. If Sam had blinked, he would have missed it completely. Sam's stomach turned cold, like he had swallowed ice water. He looked down at his phone screen, pretending to still be focused on his chess game, but his hands were shaking so hard he could barely hold it. He wanted to say something right then, but who would believe a 13-year-old kid over a grown man in a chef's uniform? His mother had told him 100 times, "Be invisible in this house, Sam. Watch, don't touch, don't talk unless somebody talks to you." If Sam accused the chef of something, and he was wrong, his mother could get fired that same afternoon. Rich people didn't like drama, Denise always said. They liked things quiet and smooth, like the marble floors. So Sam stayed quiet. But he didn't forget. That night, on the long subway ride home to their apartment in Brooklyn, Sam sat next to his mother and stared out the window at the tunnel lights flashing by like a heartbeat. "You're quiet tonight," Denise said, nudging his shoulder gently. "Lost your chess game that bad, huh?" "No," Sam said. Then, after a pause, "Mum, can I ask you something weird? Always, if somebody switched Mr. Colton's medicine, like, took out his real pills and put in different ones, would anybody notice? Like, would the pills look the same?" Denise looked at him, surprised. "That's a strange question, baby. Why are you asking that?" Sam hesitated. He almost told her everything right there, but something stopped him. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the tiredness on his mother's face after a long day of cleaning other people's floors. He didn't want to add more weight to her shoulders unless he was sure. "Just from a book I read," Sam lied. "About a spy." Denise laughed softly and shook her head. "You and your books. To answer you though, yeah, baby, pills can look almost exactly the same. That's why they say, always check with your pharmacist. Some poisons even come in pill shape now, made to look just like the real medicine. Scary stuff." She squeezed his hand. "Why are you thinking about scary stuff before bed?" "No reason," Sam said, and looked back out the window. But there was a reason. A very big one. And now Sam had a new problem. He needed proof, not just a scary feeling in his stomach. For the next few days, Sam watched Peter Voss like he was studying a chess opponent. Patient, quiet, never letting the other player know they were being studied at all. He noticed that Peter always cooked Mr. Colton's food himself, never letting the kitchen assistants near his plate. He noticed that Peter had started bringing a small black bag to work every day, one he never opened in front of anyone, tucked under a shelf near the spice rack. He noticed that Peter would check his phone constantly, glancing at the screen and then quickly putting it away, like he was waiting for a message that made him nervous. And he noticed something even stranger. Peter never ate the food he cooked. Not a single bite, not even a taste test with a small spoon, which every chef Sam had ever seen on cooking shows always did. One afternoon, while Sam's mother was vacuuming the long hallway upstairs, Sam slipped quietly toward the kitchen pantry. His heart pounded the whole way, each step feeling louder than it should. He knew he wasn't supposed to be there. He knew if Peter caught him, there would be no good excuse for a kid snooping around a medicine shelf. He looked at the orange pill bottle. The cap was back to looking normal now. Maybe Peter had switched it back, or maybe Sam had imagined the whole thing after all. Doubt crept into his chest like cold fog. What if he was wrong? What if it was nothing, and he was about to ruin his mother's job over a mistake? Sam picked up the bottle carefully, using the bottom of his shirt so he wouldn't leave fingerprints. something he'd learned from watching detective shows with his mum on Sunday nights. He tipped one pill into his palm and looked at it closely. It looked exactly like a normal heart pill, small, white, round, with a tiny letter stamped on one side. Sam wasn't a doctor. He had no way of knowing if this pill was safe or deadly just by looking at it. But then he remembered something his mother had said on the subway. Poisons even come in pill shape now, made to look just like the real medicine. If someone wanted to hurt Mr. Colton and make it look like a heart problem, this would be the perfect way to do it. Nobody would suspect murder. They'd just say the old man's heart finally gave out, like everyone always said it might. Sam's hands trembled as he put the pill back exactly where it had been, closed the bottle, and set it back on the shelf. He needed proof, real proof, not just a feeling. That's when he remembered his phone. The next morning, Sam came prepared. He tucked his old second-hand phone into his hoodie pocket, propped at an angle so the camera lens peeked just above the fabric, pointed toward the pantry shelf. He sat in his usual chair, pretending to play chess, his thumb resting near the record button the whole time. He waited. 9 o'clock came and went. Peter didn't touch the bottle that day. 10 o'clock, 11, nothing. Sam's shoulders sagged with disappointment, but he didn't give up. The next day, he tried again, and the day after that. On the third day, just after 10 in the morning, Peter Voss walked into the pantry, looked around quickly the way he always did, and reached for the orange bottle. Sam's thumb pressed record. He watched, frozen, heart hammering, as Peter unscrewed the mismatched white cap, shook out 2 pills, pulled the little plastic bag from his apron pocket, and made the swap. Real pills out, new pills in, all in about 4 seconds flat, just like before. Sam kept perfectly still until Peter walked away, whistling softly to himself like nothing in the world was wrong. Only then did Sam let out the breath he'd been holding, his whole body shaking with relief and fear all at once. He had it. Real proof. On video, time-stamped and everything. Now the only question was what to do with it. Sam almost told his mother that same night, but a new worry stopped him. What if Denise went straight to Mr. Colton's security team, and they didn't believe a cleaning lady's son over a hired chef? What if Peter found out someone had recorded him before anyone acted on it? Sam had seen enough movies to know that people who got caught doing something bad sometimes did something even worse to cover it up. He needed to think like it was a chess game. In chess, you never make a move without thinking 2, 3, 4 moves ahead. You don't just react, you plan. The safest move, Sam decided, was not to go around Mr. Colton, but straight to him, directly, fast, before the chef could switch the pills back and destroy the evidence, and before Mr. Colton could take another dangerous dose. The problem was, kids weren't supposed to just walk up to billionaires and start talking. Sam had never even had a real conversation with Mr. Colton, not once in the 3 weeks he'd been coming to the apartment. The man was always busy, always on his phone, always surrounded by assistants in dark suits who kept regular people, cleaning ladies and their sons included, a careful, polite distance away. Sam realized there was only one time each day when Mr. Colton was alone in the kitchen with nobody but the staff, 9 o'clock in the morning, right when he took his pill. Sam had one shot, and he had to make it count. The next morning, Sam woke up before his alarm, his stomach twisted into a hard knot of nerves. He barely touched his cereal. His mother noticed, but chalked it up to the summer heat making him tired. On the subway ride into Manhattan, Sam kept his hand in his pocket, phone gripped tight, the video safe inside it. He had watched it 11 times already, checking and rechecking that it was clear enough, that you could really see the swap happening. They arrived at the glass tower at 8:30, same as always. Denise headed upstairs with her cart of cleaning supplies. Sam followed, sat in his usual chair near the kitchen, and waited, watching the clock on the oven glow. 8:41, 8:52, 8:58. At exactly 9 o'clock, Richard Colton walked into the kitchen in his robe, the way he did every single morning, heading toward the counter where his water glass and pill were always waiting. Peter Voss stood near the stove, watching from the corner of his eye, his face calm as still water. The old man reached for the pill. And that's when Sam Dean stood up from his chair, his heart pounding louder than it ever had in his whole life, and shouted the only word he could think of. Wait! The kitchen went silent. Richard Colton's hand froze mid-air, the small white pill pinched between his thumb and finger. He turned, slowly, and looked at Sam like he was seeing him for the first time, which, in a way, he was. In 3 weeks, the old man had probably never once really looked at the cleaning lady's quiet son sitting in the corner. "Excuse me," Colton said, his voice sharp with surprise. Not anger yet, but close to it. Denise came rushing in from the hallway, her face pale with panic. "Sam, what are you doing?" "I am so sorry, sir, he doesn't usually—" "It's okay," Sam said quickly, though his voice shook. "Please, please don't take that pill." Peter Voss's face had gone very still, very white. He didn't move from his spot by the stove, but his eyes darted toward the door, just for a second, like he was calculating how fast he could get to it. Richard Colton looked down at the pill in his hand, then back up at Sam, his eyebrows pulled together in confusion. "Young man, I don't know what game this is, but I take this pill every single morning of my life. What exactly is the problem?" Sam's mouth was dry as sand. He had practiced this moment in his head 100 times on the subway, but now that it was real, all the words felt stuck. "That's not your medicine, sir," Sam said finally, forcing the words out one by one. "Somebody switched it. I have proof. On my phone." The kitchen felt like it had stopped breathing. Denise stared at her son, like she'd never seen him before either, shock and fear mixing on her face. Peter Voss's jaw tightened, just slightly, a small crack in his calm mask. Richard Colton set the pill down slowly on the counter, next to the glass of water, and folded his arms. "Show me," he said. Sam pulled out his phone with shaking hands, found the video, and held it up. The old man watched. 10 seconds. That's all it took. 10 seconds of grainy footage showing the chef unscrewing the wrong cap, pouring pills into his palm, swapping them from a small plastic bag, and putting the fake pills back into the bottle. When it ended, Richard Colton looked up, not at Sam, but at Peter Voss. The chef's calm face had completely fallen apart. He looked, for the first time since Sam had met him, like a scared little boy caught with his hand somewhere it shouldn't be. "Peter," Colton said quietly. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "Would you like to explain that?" Peter Voss tried to run, but the security guard downstairs, Franklin, the one who tapped the doorframe twice for luck, was already coming up in the elevator, called by one of Colton's assistants the moment the old man had quietly texted for help under the counter, phone hidden in his robe pocket. By the time the police arrived an hour later, Peter Voss had already confessed everything, the words spilling out of him fast, like he'd been holding them in for weeks and just needed somewhere to put them down. The truth was almost too strange to believe. Peter wasn't even really a chef, not a professional one anyway. He had been hired by Colton's own nephew, a man named Gregory Colton, who had been secretly, desperately in debt for years, hiding it from his rich uncle behind expensive suits and a fake smile. Gregory had paid Peter, who used to work in a hospital pharmacy before he lost his license for stealing medication, a large sum of money to slowly poison Richard Colton over several weeks with pills that would weaken his heart little by little, making it look like natural causes. If it had worked, Gregory would have inherited a huge piece of Colton Foods. Nobody would have suspected a thing. An old man with heart problems, passing away in his sleep. Sad, but not strange. Not a single person would have looked twice. Nobody would have suspected it, except for a 13-year-old boy who liked to watch and notice things nobody else bothered to notice. Ms. Alvarez, the old chef, hadn't quit at all. Sam and the police later learned. She had been fired quietly and quickly by Gregory Colton, using his uncle's name without permission, specifically to make room for Peter. The poor woman had been devastated, confused about why she'd lost a job she loved, with no real explanation given. Richard Colton sat Sam and his mother down in his private office later that same day, after the police had taken Peter Voss away in handcuffs, and after several very serious phone calls had been made about his nephew Gregory, who was arrested by evening. Denise sat stiffly on the edge of the leather couch, still shaking a little from the shock of everything, worried she was somehow about to lose her job for her son's outburst that morning, even though it had just saved her boss's life. Instead, Richard Colton looked at Sam for a long moment, studying him the way Sam usually studied other people. "How long were you watching him?" Colton asked. "About 3 weeks, sir," Sam said honestly, "since he started. And you got proof yourself, on your own, at 13 years old." "Yes, sir." The old man let out a long breath, and for the first time since Sam had known him, he actually smiled. A real one, tired but warm. "You saved my life, young man. Do you understand that? If you hadn't said anything, if you'd stayed quiet like most people would have, I would be dead by the end of this month. Maybe sooner." "I almost didn't say anything," Sam admitted quietly. "I was scared my mum would lose her job if I was wrong." Colton looked over at Denise, who was crying softly now, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "Your mother," Colton said slowly, "raised a boy brave enough to speak up, even when he was scared of losing everything. That's rare. That's rarer than money, believe me. I've met plenty of rich men with nothing like that kind of courage in them." He turned back to Sam. "What do you want? Name it. Anything within reason. And even some things outside of it." Sam thought about it for a moment. Not about money, or gifts, or anything like that. He thought about his mother's tired hands after a long day of cleaning, about the second-hand phone in his pocket that sometimes froze up mid-chess game, about the way she always said, "We'll see," whenever Sam mentioned wanting to join a real chess club, with an entry fee she couldn't quite afford that month. "Could my mum get a raise?" Sam asked. "And maybe, I don't know if this is silly, but could I get on a real chess team someday? Not a big deal. Just, that would be nice." Denise let out a surprised, wet laugh through her tears. "Sam, honey, you don't have to be so small about it." But Richard Colton was already laughing too, shaking his head. "Your mother is getting a lot more than a raise, young man. And you," he pointed a finger at Sam, "are getting the best chess coach money can buy, a full college fund, and a standing invitation to this apartment anytime you like, as my guest, not your mother's assistant. Understood?" Sam blinked, stunned. That's a lot, sir." "It's the least I can do for the boy who noticed what nobody else did," Colton said. "The world needs more people like you, Sam. People who pay attention. So, people who speak up, even when it's scary." A year passed, and things changed a lot, but some things stayed exactly the same. Denise Dean still worked in that same glass tower, but not as a cleaner anymore. Richard Colton had moved her into a management position overseeing building staff, with a salary that let her and Sam move into a bigger apartment in Brooklyn, one with actual sunlight in the kitchen. Sam still played chess every single day. Now, though, he played on a real team, with a real coach, in a small bright classroom on Saturday mornings, surrounded by other kids who loved the game just as much as he did. He'd even won 2 tournaments already, a small trophy from each one sitting proudly on his bedroom shelf. And every once in a while, on quiet Sunday afternoons, Richard Colton would call and invite Sam and his mother over. Not for work, just for dinner. Cooked now by a kind new chef named Marcus, who always let Sam taste test the sauce before anyone else, and who always ate his own food first, right in front of everyone, smiling the whole time. Sometimes, sitting at that big dinner table, Sam would think back to that morning a year ago, the frozen moment, the small white pill hanging in the air, the 10 seconds where everything could have gone terribly wrong. He never regretted speaking up, not once, even though he'd been scared out of his mind, because Sam Dean had learned something that year that no chess book could have ever taught him. Sometimes the smallest, quietest person in the room is the only one paying close enough attention to notice the thing that matters most. And sometimes, all it takes to change everything, to save a life, to change 2 families forever, is one small voice, brave enough to say a single word at exactly the right moment. "Wait!"